So for this category, which is radical equations level 2, let's go ahead get started on this one. It's pretty similar. Okay, so as you can see, the radical is already isolated. So we have the square root of 52 minus 6x on the left side all by itself. And on the right side, we actually have another x. It says x minus 10. So what we want to do, oh wait, let me screenshot this. What we want to do first is square both sides. So once the radical is isolated, you get to square both sides. I'm just gonna write it like that. Okay, so on the left side, we have square root, well, okay, sorry. We don't have the square root anymore because we just squared it and it's gonna cancel each other out. So we get 52 minus 6x. On the right side, we're gonna have to expand it out. So what I want to do is, I'm just gonna write it out twice so that we can FOIL it together. Remember FOIL, F-O-I-L. And let's multiply it out over here. So I'm just gonna rewrite the 52 minus 6x. But now we're gonna do our FOIL process. So FOIL stands for first. So we're gonna multiply the first items in each of these factors. So x times x is x squared. And then the O in FOIL stands for outer. So that means we're gonna multiply the x and the negative 10. That gives us minus 10x. The I in FOIL stands for inner. So that means we're going to multiply the negative 10 and that x, which gives us negative 10x. And the L in FOIL stands for last, which means we're going to multiply the negative 10 times the negative 10. So that's going to be plus 100. So all I did here was expanded out the x minus 10 squared into x minus 10, x minus 10. And then I actually multiply them out into this thing. And then simplifying again, we get 52 minus 6x, haven't really changed that side much. And then over here, x squared, let's combine these two like terms, minus 20x, the plus 100. Okay, before we continue from here, are there any questions? All right, so now let's actually bring everything to one side so that we have a quadratic equal to 0. So I'm just going to start by adding 6x to both sides. I'll just do it in separate steps. 52 is equal to x squared, and this gives us negative 14x plus 100. And then I'm going to subtract 52. You could have done those in one step, but I just separated it out just in case it makes it easier for somebody. So 52 and 52 cancel out. We are finally left with 0 on this side. And then here we have x squared minus 14x, and then this gives us plus 48. Okay, pausing here, are there any questions? All right, so from here, we actually want to factor, you guys like using the x factor, I think, so let's factor this out. So we have x squared minus 14x plus 48. So you want two numbers that multiply to 48 and then add to negative 14. And so we have to think to ourselves, what two numbers will multiply to positive 48 and add to negative 14? And then what numbers can you guys think of? All right, so I can think of negative 8 and negative 6. So let's just double check. Negative 8 multiplied to negative 6, that does give us a positive 48. And then negative 8 plus negative 6 does indeed give us negative 14. So it works for both of those. That means negative 8 and negative 6 are our answers for that. So you put them into the factored form by x minus 8 to represent the negative 8 over here. And then you can write an x minus 6 to represent the negative 6 over here. So hopefully that looks familiar. If it doesn't, that was a little bit of a refresher for you on factoring. Okay, so after that, we can set each factor equal to 0, but that would just essentially give us, let me see where I have space to write it. Okay, I guess if I zoom out a little bit, I get some more space. So we're setting each factor equal to 0. We have x minus 8 equals 0. That means you can add 8 on both sides, and you get x is equal to 8. On the right side, we set x minus 6 equals 0. We can add 6, and you get x is equal to 6. Pausing here, are there any questions? Okay, so this is not our last step yet. We actually need to test out these two values and plug them back into our original equation to make sure that it makes sense. So let me just rewrite our original equation out because I kind of like wrote squared on them. So I'm just going to rewrite it out. We have 52 minus 6x equals x minus 10. Okay, so just plugging these in, we got, let's try x equals 8 first. So we have the square root of 52 minus 6 times 8 is equal to 8 minus 10. And then let's try simplifying it. We get 52 minus 6 times 8 is 48 is equal to negative 2. All right, so can a square root give you a negative 2? No, right? Because square root should always give you a positive number. So if it says our square root should be equal to negative 2, right over here, that's already a problem. So x minus 8, or not x minus 8, x equals 8 cannot be a solution because you don't want your square root to equal negative 2. So I'm going to actually cross that one out because we don't want it to be a negative number. We're going to try the same thing for the other x value that we got, which was x equals 6. So let's try that one out. So plugging it into our original equation, we got 52 minus 6 times x, which is 6, equals 6 minus 10. Okay, and then we're going to simplify. 52 minus 36 is equal to 6 minus 10 is negative 4. Okay, once again, we got a negative number. So this isn't going to work. So we don't want our square roots to equal negative because square roots should only give us positive numbers. So our x equals 6 answer doesn't work either. I'm going to cross that one out. So we had two answers originally, but then we ended up crossing both of them out. So in the end, we actually don't have any solutions. So I'm going to write that out. No solution. And of course, I'll show you how to enter that into Delta Math. But before I do that, are there any questions? So the way you enter in no solution is, I believe you just submit an empty box. So I'm going to try that. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you just submit nothing because there was no solution because all of our square roots ended up as a negative number and you don't want that. So let's try another problem. And hopefully this time we'll actually get one solution at least, or maybe even both, but we'll see. So once again, over here we have the square root all isolated already. So we're just going to square both sides. I want to do that with a black pen. Okay, square both sides. This side we will get 14 minus 5x, and then on the right side we will have x minus 4 times x minus 4. So once again, you guys can expand it, or you can just go ahead and do it in your head if you already know what x minus 4 squared is, but I will show the steps. So 14 minus 5x equals, okay, so once again, we're going to do our FOIL. So first, outer, inner, and last. So for the F for first, we're just going to do x times x. That gives us x squared. For the O for outer, we're going to do the x and the minus 4. That gives us minus 4x. For the I for inner, that's going to be the negative 4 and the x, so it's another minus 4x. Oops, I'm trying to zoom out here. Okay, and then for the L for last, that's going to be the minus 4, and the minus 4 multiplies to give us positive 16. Then we're going to simplify. We get 14 minus 5x equals x squared minus 8x. We got that by combining these two like terms, plus 16. Okay, any questions up till here? All right, so now that we've simplified that quadratic, let's bring everything over to one side, and so that we can have a quadratic equal to 0. So I'm going to add 5x. Get 14 is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 16. Then we can subtract 14. giving us 0 is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 2. Okay, and so from here you can do your x factor method. And so we put the 2 on the top, and we want things to multiply to 2, and then we put the negative 3 on the bottom, so we want things to add to negative 3, and then we ask ourselves what two numbers will multiply to positive 2 but add to negative 3, and then that gives us negative 1 and negative 2. So just double checking, negative 1 times negative 2 does indeed give us positive 2 because negative times a negative gives us a positive. And then checking again, negative 1 plus negative 2 gives us negative 3. So when you add it, it works. When you multiply it, it works. So those are our numbers. Let's rewrite it in the factored form then. So for the minus 1, I put x minus 1. For the negative 2, I put x minus 2. And then we set each factor equal to 0. So on the left side, we have 0 equals x minus 1. You add 1, and you get 1 is equal to x. So here's one potential solution. Let's try the other side. We get 0 is equal to x minus 2. Add 2, add 2. We get 2 is equal to x. Okay, so we have two potential solutions, but we are not done yet. We have to plug them back in to our original equation. So let me rewrite our original equation. 14 minus 5x is equal to x minus 4. Okay, so we're going to plug in both of these. Let's try out our x equals 1 first. So trying that one out, we have the square root of 14 minus 5 times 1 equals 1 minus 4. So everywhere where I saw the x, I just plug in a 1. We're simplifying that. That's 14 minus 5 is equal to negative 3. Once again, can we have a negative? No, right? Like you cannot have a square root equal a negative. So this is wrong. So therefore, I'm going to cross this one out in red so that we really know that since our square root equals a negative, this is not allowed. All right, so we tried out one solution, it didn't work. Let's try out our other solution. So plugging it into our original formula, we got 14 minus 5 times 2 because it's 5 times x. And this is equal to 2 minus 4 because it's x minus 4. So simplifying this one again, we get square root of 14 minus 10 equals negative 2. Why do I keep getting negatives when I'm giving you examples? I have no idea, but a square root cannot be a negative number. So this doesn't work either. So once again, we have no solution. I am sorry that both my examples so far have no solution, but maybe the next one will. All right. So I'm going to pause the video here and see if you guys have any questions. All right, so once again, no solution, so I'm just going to submit nothing, which is so strange to me, but yeah. All right, let's do another one, and hopefully we can get an actual solution out of this one. Okay, so we're going to solve for all possible values of x. Once again, our first step is to square both sides since our radical is already by itself. So we're going to square both sides. Squared, squared. That gives us 32 minus 7x. And on this side, we get x minus 6, x minus 6. So I just like expanding it out because it just helps us show the work more. So we got 32 minus 7x is equal to, so now we're going to FOIL the x minus 6, x minus 6. So F-O-I-L. So for the F stands for first, x times x. The O stands for outer, x times negative 6. I stands for inner, that's the negative 6 and the x. And then the L stands for last, so that's the negative 6 and the negative 6, giving us positive 36. Okay, so from here, we need to simplify a little bit. So we got x squared, and then these combine to give us minus 12x. So we got 32 minus 7x is equal to x squared minus 12x plus 36. Okay, so from here, we're going to bring everything to one side. So I'm going to add 7x. 32 is equal to x squared minus 5x plus 36. And then let's bring the 32 as well. Finally, giving us 0 is equal to x squared minus 5x plus 4. And then from here, we can do our x factoring. But I think I might need to give you guys some time, so I'm going to pause the video. All right, so once again, we're going to have to factor this. So I'm going to draw my little x over here. I'm going to put a 4 on top. You want them to multiply a 4. You want them to add to -5. So immediately I think about -1 and -4, because -1 times -4 gives us a positive, because negative times negative is positive. Gives me +4, so that works. And then -1 plus -4 just gives us -5. So that works as well. So rewriting that into factored form, we get, for the -1 over here, x minus 1. And for the -4 over here, we get x minus 4. Set each factor equal to 0. So we get x minus 1 equals 0. We get x is equal to 1. I know I wrote that really fast, huh? And then for the x minus 4, we set that equal to 0. We add 4. X is equal to 4. But once again, we don't know if these are solutions yet. These are just our potential solutions, and we must plug them into our original equation. So I'm just going to rewrite our original equation. Okay, and so let's plug each of these in. So plugging in, let's try the x equals 1 first. So 7x is 7 times 1, and then that's all inside our square root. And then x minus 6, that's 1 minus 6. And so we have a square root of 32 minus 7 equals 1 minus 6 is -5. Okay, so once again, can your radical equal a negative? No, absolutely not. So this is not a solution. X equals 1 does not work for us. Let's try for the 4. Let's see if x equals 4 can work for us. So square root of 32 minus 7 times 4 equals 4 minus 6. And simplifying that again, 32 minus 28 is equal to -2. Great. So once again, I got another negative. And since your radical cannot equal a negative, x equals 4 is not a solution. Okay, so once again, we have no solution. I don't know how common this is, but for the next example that I show you guys, I'm literally just going to click on delta mass example until I find one with a solution, so I can just talk you through that one, because I have done 3 examples with no solution in a row, and I think you guys need to see some variety. All right, so any questions, please let me know, and if you're still writing, just let me know also. I'm going to pause the recording here. Okay, then let's enter this in again as nothing. And I'm going to just show example, and let's see, does this one actually have a solution? Okay, so this one actually has a solution, so let me just kind of talk through it a little bit. Okay, I know we've done 3 with no solutions, so I feel like you guys get the idea for the most part, but just let's quickly see what happens when you do have a solution. So like we were doing, they squared both sides first, and then you FOIL it. See how on the right side they have all these texts that kind of tell you what we did. So it says square both sides, and then it says then it says FOIL. After you FOIL it, simplify and set it equal to 0. So that brings us down to the bottom-ish. Like over here, they set it equal to 0 by just bringing everything to one side. So it's the same steps we have been doing so far. They squared it, they FOILed it, they set it equal to 0. Nothing has changed yet. Once they set it equal to 0, they factor it, and they got x plus 7, x minus 5. So far, that seems to be working the same way. Are there any questions up till here? All right, so they got the factors and then they solved for it by just pretty much changing the signs. I know I showed more work for that, but yes, for the x plus 7, you get x equals -7. For the x minus 5, they just get x is equal to +5. So those are our two things that we're going to test out by plugging into the original equation. So when they plugged it into our original equation, they checked x equals -7 first. So you can see them plugging it into the original equation and then getting square root of 4. They simplified a bit more than us, but the square root is equal to -2. False. You must reject x equals -7 because your square root can't be a negative number. So their square root simplifies to +2 because square roots are always positive. But when you did -7, it gave us a negative on the outside, so you can't have that. We reject it. So then they test x equals 5. Plug it in, and then it says our square root's equal to positive number, which is great. And then they actually simplified it all the way, and they got 10 equals 10. And so 10 equals 10 is true. You can have a square root equal a positive number because your square root should be a positive number. And so therefore their final solution is 5. So they just typed 5 into the answer box. Okay, are there any questions on this one? So one more thing that I just want to show you is how to enter two answers. How to enter two answers just in case you have it. You're going to use this button. So remember, this plus sign button will give you a second box to type a second answer in. So in case both of your answers end up working, that's the box you're going to check or press to give you a second box to type your second answer in. So it'll look like this. Then you'll have two boxes, one for each answer, okay? All right, so hopefully that was enough. If not, just let me know in your breakout rooms, but I'm going to end the recording here.